Hey friends, it's Jackie from Sew Bright Creations. I'm so glad you're here. I'm so thankful you purchased my scarf pattern. I've spent a lot of years working on this pattern and making hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of scarves. I'm just so excited to be able to share it with all of you. For me, it's so much more than just a scarf pattern. And I know that sounds cliche, but it really is. It has brought so much warmth and joy to our family in being able to wear these scarves in the cold, chilly temperatures. It gets us outside, the kids love them, so they keep it on, it's warm, it's cozy, it's just a great scarf. So whether you're here to make them to sell or you're here to make them for your own kids and family and friends, I hope our scarves bring you as much joy as they have brought us. We're gonna jump right in, but as always, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask in the comments, send me an email, reach me on Instagram at Sew Bright Creations, whatever, just ask. I'm here. I want to be able to help you guys along the way. If you didn't order a printed copy, then you're going to want to print out the pattern or just have your mobile device, whatever, handy with you. You do need to print out the last page. This is the last page here. When you print it, always make sure to select your printer to 100% scale. And then this square here is 1 inch. So you should measure it with a ruler and make sure that that actually is 1 inch. And then you know the scale is correct when you print it out. You're gonna use your non-fabric scissors. Yes, I have scissors specific for fabric, and I will never cut paper with my fabric scissors. Never. Ask anyone in my family. These are the only 2 pattern pieces that you need. I'm going to try and follow the steps so you can follow along, but sometimes I get a little carried away. So step 1 is done. Step 2 is pre-wash your fabric. I've done that already. I designed this pattern based on like the regular width of fabric. Now the stuff from Spoonflower is a bit longer, but in the end it still works out. I fold it in half and I cut out the strip. And I do that with the Spoonflower stuff. This is how much I have left on the edges. And then I fold it over once, twice, and then that's big enough to use to cut the tabs. So this way I can use the most amount of fabric. If I were to do it all in one piece, so for example, scarf would be like this whole one piece, just wastes a lot more fabric. So I am just gonna make one scarf today. This is where a ruler and a cutting mat is handy because you can measure on the mat and line everything up so it's square. So we're gonna do 20 and a half. That's right there. I just cut it so I can see where this is, and then down one here. We'll set that aside for now. Okay, I ironed this. It really just makes it so much easier to cut and does a nicer job. So I'm gonna fold it in half. Fold it in half again. And it says cut 4. I have 4 layers of fabric here already. Some people draw on the fabric and then cut it out, but I just cut it out directly with the pattern on top. 2 sets of 2, okay? So there's 4 pieces. This one I'm gonna fold in half, and I'm gonna put this here where it says end of fabric. I'm gonna put it at the end of the fabric, and that's okay if it's not like perfect. Here, you just cut like that. Okay, so that's what it will look like. And then we got our 2 tab pieces here, and then now we're gonna cut out with our Cuddle Minky. This is so soft. You can find details about where I buy all the fabrics in the pattern. This is just a pattern weight. It's super handy. They're very heavy. My dad made them for me, but you can use anything for this. You don't have to have it, but sometimes it's just really helpful. I'm gonna pin. So when I do this, this is really important. You kind of just gently pull along here. Don't yank it. We don't want to stretch the fabric, but we just want to make it taut. We just don't want it loose, so we want it all nice and tight. And then we're gonna trim the Minky. Minky is such a mess, so I often try and do all my Minky cuts on one day and then vacuum up when I'm done. So I lost track of the steps already. What step are we on? We've done step 4, 5. Okay, so step 6 is where we're at. We're gonna get ready to sew these. I'm just using a regular presser foot, but if you are making lots of scarves, or especially if you're a beginner, I do recommend trying a walking foot. So this is what my walking foot looks like. You just need to make sure it works on your machine. It helps to evenly feed the fabric so it doesn't bunch up. It's really helpful for quilting, or like with this, it's quite a bit thicker. So I'm gonna show you on a regular one. So when you're sewing, you don't want to pull, like you don't want to yank it through, you want to let it feed naturally, but you do want to kind of push down a little bit right here just to make sure the fabric stays tight here. Like I'm not yanking, I'm just kind of pushing down. See how I just kind of push it down? And then you always go back and forth when you, at the ends to reinforce it. So when you start and stop, you go forward, backwards, forward. So yeah, I just kind of lay it flat, keep it even. You want to keep at a good steady speed. And now these, we're gonna just sew around here, a 1/4 inch seam allowance. If you need help doing the corners, just go slow. I'll try and show you with my hands, but I just kind of gently pull it around evenly. I keep the 1/4 inch seam allowance, which is just my foot width here. Took my pins out and I'm just gonna trim these threads here. And now we're on step 8, so you're gonna flip this scarf right sides out by pulling the material through one of the opening ends. So you can pick any end and you just pull it through. This is my favorite part because then you get to see what the scarf is gonna look like with the 2 patterns sewn together. So I always love this part. Use your finger and poke through. I always find going inside the garment and poking out is easier than like pulling it out this way. Stick my finger in and I just kind of run it along the seam there. Give it a little shake, and then now it's ready to iron. As for the tabs, you're gonna trim just a little bit along here. So just be careful not to cut the seam. You don't want to go super close to the seam, but you want to trim it just enough so that when you turn it the right side around, it still makes a nice round shape and it's not really bulky. Again, I stick my finger in and I push with my finger. And that's how I get it nice and rounded. And now let's iron. You always want to iron on the cotton side. And I just kind of push down and out. I'm gonna iron these tabs. Dash line is about how much you want to turn this inside. So I don't actually measure on the tabs, but you can. You just turn it in. There's 1. There's 2. I kind of press along the seams. And then you're gonna iron. You're at step 11 now. Make sure you line up your pattern going the right way, and we're gonna pin these 2 together. So I just do it like that, and then if it kind of turns in, I turn it to the back. See, like this kind of flops in, so I just gently turn it like so. And it goes into about there. You want to make sure it goes in far enough to sew. It's about a quarter to half an inch. And then here, again, make sure the trees are going the same direction. And you put it down, poke it in. Okay, making sure it's straight. Put a pin in it. And now we're gonna sew, and you can do 1 or 2 lines there. Sometimes it is really helpful to do 2 lines to make sure it's really strong. Okay, so we're gonna sew along. This one you do kind of have to push in if you don't use a walking foot because it's really thick. So make sure it's nice and strong. And you wanna make sure, see that it's sewed all the way along there and sewed all the way along this side. This one's kind of sticks out a little bit more than I would like, so I am going to do 2 stitches on it. There you go. It is important that you want this to be nice and strong because it's where the snap's attached to. And if I did 2 on the other side, then I'm definitely going to do 2 on this side. While I'm at my sewing machine, I'm going to add a tag. Details about where I get them is in the pattern. You can choose to do a sew on tag if you want, or you could put a tag in here. You can do whatever you want. Okay, so trim all my threads. Be careful when you trim threads. You don't want to cut it right to the thing. You do need to let it stick out a little bit. Okay. Trim these ones. Ooshy dusty in here. Look at all the minky in the sun. Now we are ready to add snaps. I also use the cutting mat for this too. So step 14, fold the scarf so that the tabs overlap and it measures 10.5 inches. So I always just count to here, 10.5, or just eyeball the half. It's pretty easy to tell. Line this up, and then I'm gonna put my first snap in here in the center-ish. I'm gonna put the hole. Step 15, you're gonna move this over 1.5 inches. So that's 1 inch, and then that's about 1/2 inch. And then you're gonna poke another hole. It's gonna go through the same first hole and then poke through the back here, like that, not through the front part, okay? We're gonna put our snaps in. I always do like all the same on one side and all the same on the other side on all my scarves so that I don't lose track. Here I've got the male end that's gonna go because this one's the female end and it's gonna snap in. When I do my snaps, I push down and then I usually do it one more time. You're just poking these pieces through, and then this one and this one, of course, you want them to be the same. So 2 male ends. Okay, so now we can test that snap out. We test that snap out. I always test all the snaps. And then we're gonna, so there's 1, and then we're gonna put it in the tighter one, and then just lay it flat, and you're gonna feel where it is. So it's right there. I'm gonna poke through, and you can see my snap, you can see the metal poker thing is on top of this snap. So when I poke it through, there you can see without moving it, I'm touching that. Because what I want These two are going to be the same now. So now when I close them both up, they match up. I use these sticky things. They're so handy to go over top to get all the extra fluffs and threads and things. So it can close this way, the biggest, or it can go this way, or if you have a really little one, it can even go that way if you want it tighter. You can also do it this way, or you could do it this way. There you have it. You sewed your very own Sew Brite scarf. Good job, friend. Now go check out the website, sewbritecreations.com, to see what other patterns you can try out. And you know where to find me on the daily at Sew Brite Creations on Instagram. See you over there.